Good Wednesday evening, listeners, and welcome to another edition. Well, I shouldn't say another edition, but welcome to the first edition of Conversations of a Sister here on Blog Talk Radio. I'm your host, Miss Tracy L. Bell, and I welcome you tonight as I come to you live. For those of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel, you're actually seeing me live coming to you on the air for tonight's conversation. And tonight's conversations are vaccine mandates. Vaccine mandates. Are these vaccine mandates necessary? Because we have vaccine mandates being popped up everywhere. But it's not as serious as it was, I'm going to say 6 or 7 months ago. And I say that because the Supreme Court has halted mandatory vaccine mandates for corporations and businesses with over 100 employees. I know it's kind of messed up because, for those of you who are employed and you work for these big corporations, you may have been vaccinated already. So you're thinking, well, darn, I could have waited. But had you waited, these different corporations had different sanctions in place, wherein you would have gotten fined had you not been vaccinated. I mean, that's the real moral of the story. For healthcare workers, it's the same. They're still requiring healthcare workers to be vaccinated because they're not going to put patients, clients at risk because they're not, or their employees are not vaccinated. So, the vaccine mandates are still in place for healthcare workers. But for corporate America, the Supreme Court has halted it. Now, I saw a lot of comments on my blog, and I thank you all for the emails. I mean, I've been away from Blog Talk Radio online for going on a good year. And that's because, I've had a lot of things going on in my private life, my personal life, that I had to kind of get settled because I wasn't able to juggle what I had to do then versus focusing on the Blog Talk Radio show. But here I am. I'm back. It's good to be back. And I really, really, really appreciated all of the emails that came streaming in. But I would love it more if you commented on the blog. I have been considering, too, coming up with an easier platform wherein I can get more of my readers engaged. Because listening to some of you, I can tell, well, reading a lot of your comments and emails, I can tell that you're comfortable just commenting and not so much of calling in. Wherein, if you call in, we'll be more engaged in conversation. So, vaccine mandates, are they necessary? It's a personal question. Have you been vaccinated? It's also a touchy topic because a lot of people find it personal and out of place to actually ask someone if they've been vaccinated. Not only that, it's personal for some people who push the mandate, who are 100% for the mandate. And that is because it's personal for them. We've had readers write in and say, we've had loved ones who passed away from COVID. They've really been affected by it. So in that case, they are all for being vaccinated. They feel as though being vaccinated is mandatory because they know people who have died from the vaccine. I know people personally who've passed away from having COVID-19, the coronavirus. So it is personal. However, it is also about one's preference. What is your preference? Now, I've talked to people, I've talked to girlfriends. A lot of my girlfriends are vaccinated. Some of my girlfriends are not. But for those of you, who know me personally, you know that I'm all for holistic solutions. That is my entire approach. And, some people are good with that, but only to an extent. I'll tell you a story. Years ago, before I became a pescatarian/vegetarian, I would get the flu every year. And I may have mentioned this before. I would get the flu every year. Every December going into January, I would get the flu. I would get it so bad that sometimes my throat would close and I wouldn't be able to swallow. That's how bad I would get the flu. And one time I had gotten the flu, and because I've lived alone for so long, I wound up in the ER at 3 o'clock in the morning by myself. And, that's how bad it was that I couldn't swallow. And when you can't swallow, it becomes difficult to breathe. I felt like my lungs were closing in. So I had to go to the ER, and I went to the ER, and it's like the doctor saw me and he gave me a shot in my rectum. And in less than a minute, I was able to swallow. My throat opened up. And he put me on medication that had me down for 5 days. Now I'm talking over 20 years ago, 20 or more years ago when this happened to me. He put me on medication, I think it was for 5 days. It might have been an antibiotic. And when I tell you that this stuff was so heavy, it had me out for days at a time. I think I went to bed on a Monday night and I didn't wake up until like a Friday or a Saturday, because that's how heavy this antibiotic was. And it was after that bout with the flu that I was determined to change something. I had to change something because every January or December into January, I would get the flu and I would get it really badly. It's almost as if I was expecting it. I don't know if it was because at the end of the year at that time, I was run down, but I will always get the flu. And from that day forward, it was in the 90s, I became not only a pescatarian/vegetarian, because, I eat fish periodically. I started taking vitamins to support my new lifestyle of living. I started loading up on vitamin C's, my vitamin B's, my vitamin D's, all of these vitamins I started loading up on. Vitamin E, like liquids. No, I never took a zinc. I don't do zinc. My vitamin C's are natural because I love the little oranges, the little cutie pies. I can devour those. So I started doing everything natural. And when December came around the following year, I didn't get sick. And I knock on wood, I have not had the flu in over 20 something years. And no, I don't get the flu shot. And I've never got an ammonia shot. I've never done it. What I did instead was I built up my immune system. And I always upped the ante as I got older. And I wanted to build a strong defense against colds and the flu and other diseases. I just changed the way that I ate. And I'm going to tell you something. The media is exhausting with this whole vaccine mandate and talking about the vaccine. For those of you who are just tuning in, we're talking about vaccine mandates and are they necessary? I just wanted to take a sip of my tea. Yes, and it is my conversations of a sister cup. But anyway, for those of you maybe just tuning in, we're talking about vaccine mandates. Are they necessary? Because some people feel like they are. Some people feel as though they're not. So, back to the media and the media's push with the vaccine. Some of us, the last time we were vaccinated wasn't until we had to go to school, sign up for school. That was when we were children and our parents had us vaccinated. And now we have this vaccine, as adults. But I think that when it comes down to the vaccine, the mandates, and the media, it is on overload. I know it. You know it. It's for sure. It is on overload. We hear about the COVID vaccine around the clock. There's even a whole news channel, GMA, What You Need to Know, that comes on every day at 1 p.m. What you need to know. And the whole show talks about the vaccine mandate. Every day on the news, they talk about the vaccine mandate, what parents are against it, what lawsuit is next, what states have free mandates. Every day, the media is constantly regurgitating this topic because what it is doing is it is feeding us. It is feeding us to the point of fear. And I remember when COVID first broke out throughout the US, I was constantly listening to the news. And if I sneezed, I was paranoid. And I'm sure some of you have gone through the same thing. If I coughed, I was paranoid. I said to my girlfriend, I was like, hell, when I lay down at night, sometimes I'd be like, well, darn, maybe I have it. Because if you listen to the programming long enough, that's what it will have you thinking. It will have you thinking that you have it. It will have you paranoid. And we have to know when to step back and to detox from media information and then do what's best for you. How do you build your immune system? Even if you do have the vaccine, even if you don't have the vaccine, because now I notice that they're pushing vitamins like never before. They're talking about vitamin C and zinc like never before. And people are really interested in building their immune system and keeping their immune system strong. Well, the one thing I do is I love green tea. All I drink is green tea, and it has to be a certain brand. I'm not going to say the brand because that brand has not paid me for advertising, but I won't say the brand. But I drink a favorite green tea. And at night, well, in the morning, I'll mix that green tea with ginger and lemon because ginger is excellent for building the immune system. Ginger, lemon, garlic, you can Google it. It will tell you what's necessary. But I've always drank ginger and lemon tea. And I drink it now, especially at night. And I am sipping on a cup of ginger and lemon right now. It's caffeine free, but I like to have it at a certain time as I wind down. And this is my wind down time as I talk to you. And for those of you who may be just tuning in, tonight is our first night back on the air. And we decided to talk about vaccine mandates. And that's simply because this is what the constant message is on television. And some people have had COVID. I'm going to have a guest on in a couple of weeks who's had COVID. He's actually on a long road of recovery back. That's how bad I think he had it. But some people have been affected with COVID-19. My girlfriend had COVID-19. And I knew she had it. It's funny because she wanted to know, how did I know she had it? And I said, because you had a sore throat and it was taking you too long to recoup from that sore throat. And plus, I have that innate ability. I knew that she had COVID. Well, she didn't like what I was saying. She didn't like that, I was being realistic to her. She didn't want to face it because she felt like, oh my God, I don't want to hear every time I talk to you, I sound so bad. But she did. She sounded really bad. And she got tested a couple of days later and she had COVID. I knew that she had COVID because she sounded unlike she'd ever sounded before, even with having a cold. So we need to know what's best for us. I have girlfriends who've gotten a vaccine because they feel like the vaccines are necessary. We have the state of Florida, the state of Utah. They're all saying that they're free states because they have no vaccine mandates. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they actually want herd immunity so that people are not even required to get the vaccine. You have people flocking to states where there is no mandate just because they don't want to get this vaccine. They don't want to get it. And that's fine because I don't think there should be a mandate. I think it is to each its own. You have to do what is best for you to protect your health and to protect your well being. I got the vaccine because it was required by my place of business. And now look, the Supreme Court ruled otherwise. But I'm glad that I got it. But before I received the vaccine, I had a lot of reservations. And that's because of what I was reading online. I went to an allergist because I do have allergies. And he said to me, if you get the vaccine, you'll be fine because you're healthy. But you will have a reaction because you are allergic to certain things. And that is exactly what happened. So aside from that, I still believe in living a healthy lifestyle because a healthy lifestyle is what's going to keep you healthy. Regardless to whatever you get, a healthy lifestyle and a good night's sleep is the key to remaining healthy. Getting vitamin D, natural vitamin D. If not, it's okay to ingest it, but natural vitamin D, sunshine, and exercise. Those are things that are going to keep you healthy. And I'm going to tell you what's the best thing to do is to turn off the news, is to not listen to it 24/7. We have to know when to detox from the media. We have to know when to not listen. I was listening to Cat Williams right before Christmas, a friend of mine, and Cat Williams was talking about how television, the media, and the news just want to overload you with sickness and illness and this and that. He said that there's so many commercials on mesothelioma that he thought he had it. And that's true. Because when you listen to something long enough, you'll start to believe it. So the key is to live healthy, to be healthy, to make lifestyle choices that are going to keep you healthy so that you can ward off anything. You will be able to ward it off. And this is by choice because, you know, we all have choices to make. Some of us will decide to get the vaccine sooner or later, but it's a choice. And whatever choice you decide to make, that's the choice for you. But I don't think it should be a mandate. That's what I think. That's my opinion. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. We're not living in a communist country. And people hate these mandates. Don't get me wrong. I understand for healthcare workers because they're in front of people, even people who are in front of people. I see the reasoning for wanting to protect yourself and getting vaccinated. You should still wear your mask, even if you are vaccinated. And if you're not, still wear your mask just to protect yourself because you always want to be careful. That's very, very, Very important. And for my one uh, blog reader who says she's been able to slip under the radar, that's excellent. Keep slipping under the radar, but continue to remain healthy and do things to keep you healthy. Because if not, you'll regret it later. So it felt good to be back tonight. And this is just one of many conversations because we're going to kick the year off right. And we want to have conversations that are being talked about, those topics that are being discussed. Those are the conversations that we want to have. So until next week, I am going to log off and I'm going to say, be well, be healthy, and we'll see you then.